Good afternoon and welcome to our first mini webinar in June. This is an easy one for me as my partner Ward Blatch will be doing the presentation. Applause, please. And as usual, I have a little bit of admin to do. Marilyn Benninger is backing me up today. She's your go-to person for technical issues and for questions. Your microphones are muted for obvious reasons. You're welcome to take notes, but be aware that Marilyn, within 10 days of today, will be sending you a package that will include the recording of the webinar, Ward's teaching notes, and any questions that you ask during the session. And you ask questions by posing them in the chat window. And of course, we have to deal with your CPD certificates. 4 times today, Ward and Andrew will be putting up a polling question. That's a multiple choice question. You don't have to get it right, but you have to select one of the answers and click on submit, because that timestamps your record. And if you get if you're recorded as answering 75% of the questions, which today will be 3, you will get a CPD certificate for 1 verifiable hour. If you don't, it'll be 1 non-verifiable hour. And as I said, today the topic is PDFs, and I can't think of anyone that I would rather have present that than my partner, Ward Batch. So Marilyn, it's time for the handoff.
Good day, everybody. I'm going to show one of my screens. Who knows which one you'll actually get to see. You're supposed to see one that has a PowerPoint presentation on it. Hopefully that's the correct one. If you could just confirm that for me, Marilyn, be appreciated.
We are seeing your screen, Ward. You're good to go.
Does it say Adobe Acrobat?
It does.
Wow.
It does.
Well, Alan, thanks so much for your introduction there. This session is going to cover Adobe Acrobat DC and its productivity advantages. We have a few learning objectives here, which were stated earlier, and I'm sure you've all had an opportunity to read. I would just like to mention that I will be using Acrobat DC, which stands for Document Cloud. This is a subscription. You can still buy Adobe Acrobat as a standalone product. That version currently being sold as a standalone, single license, one-time purchase is Adobe Acrobat 2017. So since 2017, the subscription receives quarterly feature updates. So it's missing a few things that the subscription would have included. If you'd like to try out any of the stuff that I do today, you can certainly do so. You can click on this image when you get it in your email. It is a link to the web page where you can start your free trial, and I believe it's a 30-day trial. So once you get to the point where you're trying to decide which Acrobat to get, there is actually 2 of them. There's Standard and Pro, which stands for Professional. The cost is $2 more for Pro, and these are in US dollars. They do not offer it in Canadian dollars. There's a couple of features that make Pro stand out, I think, for accountants in particular. First of all, I scan documents every day. I am in a paperless office, and when I do the scanning using Adobe, it makes it into an editable and searchable PDF document, which I find to be extremely valuable. The other component that I use consistently is compare 2 versions of a PDF, and again, you need Pro to do that. And that allows me to take 2 PDFs and compare them side by side. In that comparison, it'll highlight every change that's taken place between those 2 PDFs. Very popular when we're looking at contracts to see if there's been any changes made from a draft that's sent out. The third difference there is redact, and that is what we see in our ability to black out confidential information on a document. So I don't use this very often, redaction. I probably use it maybe a dozen times in a year. Somebody will ask me to send a document to their bank or some other person, and when I do that, what I do is I make sure to redact out social insurance numbers and anything else that's highly sensitive information. The compare and the scan feature set improvements in Acrobat Pro, I feel, are worth the extra $24 US per year to have those two features. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a PDF, then we'll mess around with the pages in it by rotating and moving and deleting pages. We'll do quick little edits on it, then we'll do a little bit of markup with it, and finally convert it back to some other file format. So let's get ourselves started. I'm going to escape out of here. Now you should see the full Adobe Acrobat. And the first thing I'm going to do is just print this out to a PDF. So I'm just going to say File and Print. And I'm going to print it to PDF. Microsoft has a built-in print to PDF printer. That's the one I'm going to use for this. I'll just say Print here. It'll ask me for a location and file name. So I am going to put it in my Downloads folder, and I'm just going to call this Test1, and we'll say Save. That's all it's to it. I've created a PDF of that PowerPoint presentation. That PDF, however, is a printout of the presentation. And it's not the recommended technique to use when I want to spread this document around. It's missing a couple of features. So to give you an idea of the differences, what I'm going to do is I'm going to print it out again, only I'm going to use the PDF Maker. Now this is a feature of Adobe Acrobat. So I'm just going to go to File first and go to Options down at the bottom here. And what this will give me is my PowerPoint options list, and I'm going to go to Add-ins. And it is a COM add-in that I want to activate. The COM add-in is called the Acrobat PDF Maker. So I do want to activate that, and I'll say OK. With that activated, you'll notice now up at the top here it says Acrobat. A new tab has been added to my ribbon. And I do want to print using that, so I'm going to select Acrobat. And over here, Create PDF. So it will go through and ask me where I want to save it. The default is to save it under the name of the PowerPoint presentation file name. I'm actually going to call it Test2 in this case. And I'm going to say Save. It's going to initialize it. It comes up and asks me a question. Do I want to make the presentation speakers annotations in the file? I do want that, so I'm going to say yes here. I've left this to show up so that I could show it to you. Typically, you'd want to consider turning that off so you don't see it every time. So we'll say yes, and now it'll go through and turn this into a PDF file. It takes a minute for it to run through and do this. It gathers a lot of different data up and brings it up and creates that PDF. It actually launches Adobe Acrobat. I'm on a 4-screen system here. It's actually on my other screen. So just let me drag that over for us. And here we have it. And there it is, our PowerPoint presentation printed out as a PDF. Okay, so what's the difference between this and the PDF that I had when I just used the print to PDF functionality? So let's go to Home here, and what I want to do is open up a different file. So let's go to my computer, and in here I believe I put it in my Downloads folder, and it was called Test1. So we'll open that up. So Test1, the first one I printed, this is what it looks like. I'll zoom out a little bit here so you can see. It printed it out as if it was a normal sheet of paper. So I got this white at the bottom here. And if I scroll down through here, everything is here like you would expect it to be, but it's not exactly the slides. Now, I do have hyperlinks in the presentation. So here's a hyperlink here. And you can notice when I hover over that, it says, go to shop.k2e.ca. That's where you can register for our webinars that we offer. If I click on the little sidebar here and I go to the page view, you can see all the pages, so they look exactly like you'd expect. If I go to bookmarks, it's completely empty. So this is the PDF I did when I created it from print to PDF. Here's the PDF I used with the PDF Maker. And a couple of things that stand out. First of all, you see exactly the slide and only the slide. There is no extra space in here. And if I scroll down a little bit, a couple of things come to your attention. First of all, there's a little comment box in the top corner. And this is the notes, my presentator notes that it asked me if I wanted to annotate it. Here it is annotated. And it actually, if I click on that, will open up so I can get it, copy it, and do what I'd like with it. The other thing is this slide actually has been hyperlinked in the presentation. And you'll notice here when I hover over, it actually shows you the path that it would take me to. If I clicked on this, it would open up that web page in my web browser. So a couple of things that I don't get with just a straight print to PDF, a little bit nicer configuration. So, okay, I've got my printing done. What else can we do with this document? Well, if we go down here and have a look at that page that we were on, I've created the PDF two different ways. Let's now go through and talk about moving and rotating pages and deleting pages in the PDF. I like to have this side panel open. This is my thumbnails. It makes it very easy for you to see what you're going to, what page you're on, where you are in the document. When you're on an image over here, a right click on that will give you that rotate pages. So typically printing from a document like a Word or an Excel or a PowerPoint presentation, there's no rotation required, but sometimes when we're scanning, it doesn't get rotated correctly. So this allows us to do a rotation. Easy way for us to go and get the PDF laid out the way we'd like to have it. To move pages around is a simple matter of doing a drag and drop it to where you'd like to have it. As easy as that to move pages within your document. You can also extract a page out of your document. So let's take this page here and I would like to extract it out. I'm simply right clicking and saying extract pages. I can delete it from the PDF I'm in now or leave it there. I'm going to leave it for this example. And it's asking what pages I'd like to extract. So I'm going to extract just a single page here. Page 5, we'll say okay. And that will create a new PDF for me with just that page in it. So if we go look at our thumbnails again, you'll see that the PDF has a single page. It's also very easy to take pages from one document and move them to another document. So if I want, for example, this page in a different PDF, I can simply drag and hold it over the PDF I wanted to go to and drop it in where I would like to have it in the presentation. So it's a very quick, very easy system to be able to create multiple pages, reorganize those pages, and last but not least, if you have a page you don't like, you can simply right click and say delete pages. Yes, I know I've been right clicking. I have a little issue here. I prefer to right click. I find that the menu is very accurate and I tend to use that a lot. Here in Adobe, and also I find myself using it a lot in Excel. So to delete a page, you just say you want to delete a page, pick what pages you want to delete and say okay. Confirm yes, the page is deleted. So we've done quite a bit already. We've created the PDF, we've done some moving around. Let's go talk now about editing a PDF. So let's go back to this page here, and I'd like to edit it. Now, in this case, this is a print of the job. So when I say I want to edit the PDF, it'll take a second for it to figure stuff out. So now it's got the little squares around it, and I can go in here and start to edit this presentation. So I just want to get rid of the word ed and replace it with the ampersand. As you can see, when you do this, it is very difficult to tell that this is not the original, that I've actually done an edit. So create PDFs from printer and PDF maker. I don't like that layout, so I'm just going to modify that and just expand that so a little bit there. So editing a PDF, it's as easy as that. It's literally the same as if you were in Word or Excel. You just click on what you want to change and type in what you'd like it to be. So very easy for us to go in and make those corrections. Next thing we'll look at is updating. So I'm going to close the editing window here and we'll go to updating next. I'm just going to updating markup next. I'm going to use comments to do my markup. So when I activate markup, I get a series of different command, a new ribbon bar up here where I can go and quick access to get stuff. So I want to put a comment in. I just click on that and drop in where I'd like to have the comment. It says, what do you want to say? Do we need to say both on slide? We'll post that. What else can we do with our markups? Maybe I'd like to actually not give you a comment. Maybe I just want to delete out the text, so I can just use the indicator that I'd like to do that. Maybe I want to say something else in another part here. Markup and use of pen. So we'll post that. As easy as that. I've done markups and edits within the document. Now, a markup could also be done with a pen, like I just mentioned here in this added comment. And if you don't have a digital pen, you can always click here and now your mouse becomes a pen. You can pick the color of the pen and you can pick the size that you'd like it to be. Let's make it nice and thick so it's easy for everybody to see. And now I have a little pen that I can go and draw and mark up and make changes and put my notes on and say whatever I'd like to say in the document. All of these markups and edits, if you need it to, can be removed. They don't have to be there. You'll notice that I have the comments bar down the side here. It's saying who made the comment, at what time they made it. And if I click on that, it'll take me to the individual items. And I can also reply to that comment in here as well. So now we can do a markup and share each other's comments back and forth. Okay, let's go have a look at converting this PDF to another file format. So let's go back to the test 2 here. This is the file I did. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to tell it that I want to export it to, and as you can see, it can go to Word, a spreadsheet, PowerPoint presentation. We're going to put it back to a PowerPoint presentation. So this is a PDF. I'm going to say Microsoft PowerPoint presentation. I'm going to call this test 2. That's the name of the PDF. And we'll say save. This actually will convert that PDF back into PowerPoint. Here is the exact same file done. And to prove it to you, if you notice, there's the original file in the background there. I can actually close that. Here is the file created from the PDF. Very nice. We can do this again with Excel, with Word, and with PowerPoint. And it is the full PowerPoint. There's nothing different about it. My comments have turned it into little notes down here. The hyperlink has been removed from the image, but other than that, this is the same presentation, and it's fully here in Word. All the words are here. I can edit it. It's PowerPoint. There's nothing different about it. Pretty incredible when you think about it, how easy it was for us to do this. Keep this in mind too when you're distributing PDFs to people. This is how hard it is for them to convert it to another file format, an Excel file or a Word file, change it to whatever they'd like and convert it back to a PDF. Pretty hard to know what happened. So before I talk about share, can we ask that first question there, Marilyn, please?
Absolutely, Ward. Good morning or afternoon, folks, wherever you are. Thanks for joining us. Your screen should be blue. We've got a nice, easy question to start us off on this session, asking, are digital signatures legally binding in Canada? Let's get a sense from the audience. Your choices are yes, no, or not sure. We keep our polls open until we see 90% participation, and we're just right there. So I'm going to count you down before closing the poll from 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. I'm closing the poll, and I'm sharing the results. Do you see those results, Ward?
Oh yeah, I got the little sharing thing popped up over there in the corner. 55% yes, 7% no, and 38% not sure. Very interesting. So I will answer that in just a couple of minutes, but I just want to see where people were. So if you could leave that poll result up there for me, that would be great. All right. I got a document. I want to send it off for review. So let's get ourselves back out of PowerPoint and back into our PDF here. And I need to get comments on this document. So we have several choices. We can use Adobe Cloud. We can use SharePoint. We can use a network folder. And what we're going to be doing, whether we use any of these, whichever three of these we use, it will create a copy of the file, put it in the location we specify, and make it available via link or whatever method is required under the circumstance to give people access to the file that they can go in and mark it up. You could do this with email, and what happens with email is everybody gets a copy of the file, and then everybody puts the comments on it. Then everybody emails the files back to the person that sent it out. Then that person has to use Adobe to combine all of the comments. I really suggest you try to use one of the other three methods where it's a single file that everybody's commenting on. And the reason is quite simple. When we do it that way, if I get to look at the file second or third person, I see all the other comments and corrections that other people have made. And it really simplifies the process for the person that's going to create the final copy. So let's take this document, let's share it out and get some comments from people. So I'm just going to click on share here. And when I click on this button, it comes up with a dialog box. I can invite people, I can attach it to an email, or I can get a link. We're going to get a link. And I'm going to allow people to make comments on it. So I'm going to say create the link. It's going to ask it to save the PDF. And what it's going to do is it's going to save it, and then it's going to put a copy of it in the location we've selected. So I'm using Document Cloud to do this in this example. So it's going to create the link. There's the link for me. The link is already copied to automatically for me. It's been copied to my clipboard. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a web browser in private mode. And what this does, in your browser, it might be called Incognito. What this does is it opens up a web browser that has no knowledge of any logins that I've ever done or anything saved. And the advantage to this is this means that when I go to this document for review, it is exactly the way that you or anybody that doesn't have an Adobe account would see it. So I'm just going to say, put that link in there, go to the web page. It's going to pop up here in a second with the document that have to accept their cookie policy, and I do want to review it as a guest. And here's my document available for me to review. I am in a web browser doing this. This also works with mobile apps. And as you can see on the left-hand side here, I can go to my thumbnails. I can also go to my bookmarks to navigate throughout the document. So I'm going to go to this first page here, and I'd like to put a comment in. I just click on comment, go down here, click. I do want to continue as a guest, and because I am doing that, it's asking for a name. So I'll use Alan, and I'll say I agree to the terms and continue. And now I have to figure out what's a sidewalk. Don't you love being used to do machine learning for people? So we'll do verify. This text is too, if I could type, we'd be done by now, too long. Please shorten. And we'll post that. Let's go down to the next page here. Nothing to do there. This here, I don't think we need to say redact because nobody knows what redact is. So let's go and just take that out. Please remove and cap first letter. Post that. So as you can see, it's not hard for me to go down through. I have highlighter, I have commenting, I've got underlining text, I got crossing out of text, and I got, of course, the drawing tool. I go ahead, I keep doing my stuff. When I'm finished with all of the stuff I'm doing, I can now go back. We'll go back to my PDF I have here, and we'll say go to review. So in the web browser, I was Alan. Here I'm Ward. You're now in the review version of your file. Use the commenting tools, and that mentions others, get others' attention. So say OK. It's doing a little refresh there. You'll notice that it did a little sync. There's an icon up in the corner here. I'm green, so I'm good to go. I've got 2 unread comments or replies. We can go and view those. And here it is, the comments that Alan made on the document. If I click on those, it'll take me exactly where that comment was, and I can, of course, reply to it. So this really makes the process of reviewing a document much more interactive. Everybody sees everybody's comments, and it really can reduce the length of time it takes you to complete the task. So great little tool. Again, we can do this with Document Cloud, Adobe Document Cloud. We can do it with SharePoint. We can do it with a network share. And if you have to, you can do it with email. Just one thing left to do, and that is I need to get this document approved by somebody. So let's take this document here. It's a single page document. What I want to do is I want to send it out to get signed. So I'm just going to type in sign here. And we are going to use Adobe Sign. It is part of your subscription when you do use, when you get Adobe Acrobat DC. Just say save. It needs to have a saved copy of the page. And it's going to ask who's going to sign it. So once the page comes up here in just a second, I will send this to Ward at, whoops, got to have the right email address. Ward at K2E.ca, put in any comments you want, specify where to sign. It'll come up and give me an opportunity to put in a signing block. So I'll just wait for that to come up for me. Let's go and put in the signing block. So we'll put that right here. Right there looks good. I'll make that just a little bit bigger. And then right here, I'm going to put in the set a signature date field. There we go. We'll send that off. What happens now is everybody that was marked as a signing person will get an email, and that email will have a link in it. I'll show you what the email looks like here. So we'll just grab that email message somehow. And there's so much stuff on the screen, it's hard to get to the message. And just give me 1 sec, sorry about that. And open up that message. And the message will give me a link that I can take to go sign the document. So click here to review and sign pages from test 1. Click on that. Takes me to a page where I can then go and sign the document. That's where I want to sign it. So I'll just say Ward, and we're done. Sign it, say yes. It's now digitally signed. It is legal in Canada for all contracts. A couple of restrictions, wills, some trust documents, and land transfers. All others, it's legally binding here in Canada. Everybody will have received an email, all parties that signed off on the document with it. And so now we're ready to get ourselves that signed contract filed away however you'd like to do it. All right, So that's sending out for a signature. There's the file types that are available. We do have additional training on PDFs. We go into quite a bit more detail on how to do some of these features. If you do a search at shop.k2e.ca for PDFs, the 4 that come up right now are these that are on the screen here. I'd like to say thank you for joining me in this part of the presentation today. Marilyn, we have one more question just to see what people think or what they may be implementing in their office. If you could ask that.
Terrific, Ward. I can hear minds being amazed all across the country. Certainly, I picked up an awful lot of amazing features there. Thank you for that. So your question now, folks, then we have 5 today, so you'll need to answer 4 or 5 to earn your verified CPD credit. Are you likely to implement the following after today's session? And you can choose more than one. Edit, markup, shared reviews, send for signature, or maybe you're already using some of those and have others that you use, in which case none of the above. We're just at 90%. Everybody is quick today. Thanks for your responses. I'm going to count you down from 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. I'm closing the poll. I'm going to share the results with you, Ward.
Oh, great. So glad to see people are going to be doing a few of those things. For those that aren't, their office may not be paperless yet, or maybe they don't like working with PDFs. Thanks again. I'll hand it back to, I guess it's Alan, to introduce Mr. Andrew Bates.
I'm just going to make you the organizer, Andrew. You're going to be the presenter here, so we can keep moving along.
You'll be able to hear me better if I unmute myself. Hello, everybody. My head of marketing said, oh, a presentation on PDFs. You can talk about DocStore, which is our PDF storage solution that integrates with Adagio. And I said, well, we've talked about DocStore about 3 times already this year. So we're going to talk about how Adagio is different from the entry-level products in managing the operational aspects of a business. For those of you who have not heard about Adagio before, we've been in the Canadian market, we're a Canadian company that have been in business for over 30 years. We shipped Adagio in 1999. And today I'm going to talk about the modules in the Adagio suite that are used for operational purposes within a company, managing inventory, managing sales orders, purchase orders, and if we have time, prospecting and quote management. But we have quite a bit to cover. So we'll just start just to position Adagio in case you've never heard of us, if you've been attending these presentations regularly or the K2 technology tour, then you will know. You will have seen this slide many times. We are a set of modules, an ERP system for small organizations and businesses. We're batch-based, multi-user, multi-currency. We're modular, so that if you're a small not-for-profit and you just need a general ledger and accounts payable and really strong financial reporting, you just need to buy the general ledger and accounts payable. Today, we're going to talk about the specific solutions that we have for wholesale distribution, because trying to manage inventory in a product where the lookup is only by item description can be very difficult. Let's see, what else can I tell you? Oh yeah, batch-based. In the operational side, we're not really batch-based. We're online, receipts post in real time, sales orders post in real time, because you need to know whether you have inventory available for a sales order. Excuse me. Let's talk about inventory first, because if you have nothing to sell, then you're probably just billing services. And yes, we do have a solution for that. We have a solution for most things after doing development for getting close to 20 years now. But basic things about inventory. Inventory items are looked up by item number. Now, there's flexibility in the way item numbers are structured. You can have up to 16 characters in the item number and up to 4 user-defined segments with a different name for each segment. And almost all of the reports in inventory can be sliced by segment. So you can do an inventory valuation report by a segment in the item number. You can do a slow-moving item report by segment. So that allows you to do some analysis of how your inventory is moving and what you should reorder and things like that. You don't have to use all the 4 segments. It's up to 4 segments. You don't have to use all 16 characters. You can have your own separators between the segments, so it's easy to read when you are looking at the item numbers on a report. We support 5 separate costing methods, not just average costing, but also LIFO, FIFO, standard, and user-defined. So standard costing, where your item costs are moving all the time, and you want, well, for the accountants in the crowd, you know how standard costing works, and the difference between the standard cost and the moving average cost is posted to a cost variance account. Generally, you would review your standard costing for items every quarter or half, maybe only annually, just to see if they need adjustment from the actual cost of the items. User-defined costing allows you to, for a non-stock item, allows you to enter the cost of the item at the time it's sold or shipped, so that you have, you may choose to have a single SKU for those items that you don't normally carry in inventory, and the costs vary every time you do a shipment. When you have specified user-defined, the system will prompt for the actual cost of the item as it's shipped out of inventory. We're multi-location. Now, that means that you can have multiple locations within your inventory. Now, some people use those for different areas of a warehouse, or some people use them for actually different locations like Vancouver, Kamloops, Kelowna, Prince George. We support different pricing by location, so that you can say, if you're shipping from this location, use this pricing. If you're shipping from this location, use that pricing. We do reorder quantities by location, so you can have min, max, and reorder quantities available for generating reports about what items should be reordered. But we don't do costing by location. We have found that within our market space, the differences in cost, well, first of all, most of our users don't have multiple locations, true multiple locations, and secondly, the costs are not wildly materially different when items are sold between one location and another. Within inventory, there's 5 different transaction types that you can post in inventory. You can post every transaction type in inventory. You can post your receipts into inventory. Now, normally in a business of any size, this will be done in our purchase order solution. In our purchase order module, the receipts will be posted, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a few moments. You can post shipments directly in inventory control as well, although most of our clients would use Adagio order entry or Adagio invoices to post the shipments out of inventory. You can post adjustments and do a physical inventory count. If you notice that inventory thinks that you have 15 of an item, but when you go and look, you only have 13, you can adjust the inventory, allows you to adjust quantities or costs in inventory as an adjustment. We support transfers between locations, so you can move inventory from one location to another. And you can also move inventory between items. You can, in case it's being received as the wrong item code, or there's some other reason you want to split out items that you used to group together and you want to split them out into 2 separate item codes, we support that. Assemblies, you can do an assembly. Adagio inventory supports a single level bill of materials. You can choose to auto build an item when it's placed on a sales order. So if you sell a master item that you don't have sufficient quantity of in inventory, Adagio order entry will go and build the item. And building an item takes all the costs of the components that go into the item, plus a fixed amount for overhead, perhaps machine setup or a labor component or some other fixed cost regardless of the quantity being built, and it puts those items in inventory for you automatically. You can also unbuild an inventory item. So if you build something and then you said you built 10 of them, but you only really built 5, you can unbuild 2 of them and put the components back into inventory. Let's see what's next. Oh, pricing. We have to talk about pricing a little bit, because pricing is really one of the things that differentiates businesses. You know, only one business can be the lowest cost provider, but pricing is a differentiated, is a business differentiator. Now, pricing is maintained in inventory, but actually implemented in order entry. So you set up all your prices in inventory, around inventory items, and you can have a discount by customer type. So customers, when you set them up in accounts receivable, are given a type from A to E or space, and you can offer customers a different discount depending upon what type of customer that they are, and the type of customer provides up to 5 different discount levels, and you can do discounting by category or by individual item. So you can have this type A customer gets a 15% discount on these items, but only a 10% discount on these and a 30% discount on those. So the discounts do not have to be common across item. You can also say that you're going to do a discount based on the quantity of an item that's ordered. You can say, if someone orders 10 of these, they get this price, but 100 of these, they get another price, and have the system automatically retrieve the correct price, so that the operator, the person entering the sales order, doesn't have to know about all the different rules. Pricing can also be done as a markup from cost, and you can choose to select a markup from either the most recent or the average cost of an item, which is a way of protecting your margin. And finally, because sales managers tend to fine-tune prices at the customer level, you can have as many different price lists as you want, and you can assign a price list to a customer. So you can say this customer buys this product at this price, and this price can be higher than the normal price or lower than the normal price. And you can import and export price lists. You can price lists can be in a different currency as well. There's a currency associated with the price list, so you can have a different price for a US customer as opposed to a Canadian customer, because, did I mention earlier, we're multi-currency. So the pricing flexibility, really, once you get to a certain size, this is what begins to drive craziness in the sales order department. When you're on the entry-level products, usually their pricing strategies are quite simple. This is as complex as you want to get it. I have seen implementations of Adagio where every single one of 800 separate customers had their own price list. It was not very pretty to maintain, but it was doable. What else? Oh yes, the most recent release of inventory control supports barcoding. You have multiple barcodes pointing to a single item. The units of measure is encoded in the barcode, so when you scan an item, Adagio will know whether you're shipping an each or a carton or a case of that particular item. Yes, we do support multiple units of measure and automatically convert from one unit of measure to another. There's a stocking unit and a sales unit and an order unit. Generally, the stocking unit is the lowest quantity. So even if you have a skid of toothpaste tubes, you inventory them by eaches so that you know exactly how many you have in stock. The barcoding also allows you to override the description so that you can have a barcode for sized goods where one barcode is small, another is medium, another is large, another is extra large, and they're all treated as a single item in your inventory. And as you scan it, you overwrite the description with the appropriate sized item. I think that that's pretty much all I wanted to tell you about inventory control. I do have a question. I have a poll question that I'll put up now. Now, one of the questions is whether you work in an organization that sells things. So I just have to find my polling question here. Yes, so here's the polling question. Do you or any of your clients sell things? So items. So this is very interesting. We'll just give people a few moments. I made sure that I put a not applicable in here because for some of you in public practice won't really be an issue, although you may have clients You may have clients who sell things who are in the wholesale distribution space. We're just taking up Marilyn likes to make sure that over 90% of people vote, and since your CPE credits are dependent upon that, you really want to click that box, even if, and since there's a not applicable, you can always choose that item. So we're getting almost up there. Hurry, hurry, last chance to cast your vote. I think that we've got enough people here, and I'll just share this because this is kind of interesting. So first of all, we know that in the modern economy, many organizations provide services. If you're a community living association, you're providing services in counseling, membership. Those are generally services. A few are, and they're managing orders in Excel. That's very interesting. Excel, the world's most popular accounting module, to do those things that your accounting system isn't doing but should be doing. So I'll hide and talk about the differences between B2B and B2C, just so that you have some idea of what's going on. If you're a B2C, if you're business to consumer, then your pricing is very simple. So if you're a London Drugs or a Best Buy, I just realized no one's going to know what London Drugs is in the East. But if you're Best Buy, then you're doing business to consumer. If you're Amazon, also you're doing business to consumer pretty much. So this has nice simple pricing model. You might have some sale items and things like that, but basically it's pretty straightforward. Business to business is much more complex, and you have multiple prices. You can restrict inventory. You can say this business cannot buy these inventory items, although we sell them. Our distributorship agreement precludes us from selling these things to these items. You may have contract pricing where individual items you are contractually obligated to sell an item at a specific price to a specific customer. And sale prices can be based on quantity and over a period of time. Same kind of sales that you have with consumers, but a little bit different. Most web stores are designed for business to consumer. Oh, a typo on the slide. Are designed for business to consumer sales. I'll have to fix that before we publish it. Okay, most web stores are designed for business to consumer sales. So Shopify and Amazon are designed for business to consumer, and their pricing models are very simple and straightforward. So for those of you who have clients who are thinking of putting up a web store, but they do business to business selling, that you may want to make sure that the pricing models are complex enough to support their particular pricing model. Most of the sales orders, of course, happen in order entry. And one of the things that surprised me the first time I was talking to a QuickBooks user was that QuickBooks actually has no concept of a sales order. So in Adagio, there's 4 types of sales orders. There's an active order. That's an order that you've entered into the system. A future order, one that you have to activate at some point, a month or 2 or a quarter or 6 months in the future. A standing order, something that you repeat on a regular basis. And then there are RMAs, which are kind of negative orders where you're trying to track that you've issued a return merchandise authorization to a customer to allow them to return something to you because you shipped the wrong thing, or it was defective or damaged in transit, or for whatever reason. So these are the different order types that we support in Adagio Order Entry. And we support a whole set of forms around those types. So you can send an order confirmation to the customer telling them that this is the order that you've taken and this is what you expect to ship. An order has an expected ship date. You can have a different expected ship date on every single line on an order. So your order confirmation can show that. All of these forms are customizable as to layout and information that they display, and quite powerfully customizable. You can select whether a miscellaneous charge like shipping appears in the body of the invoice or down in the footer area. All of our forms have 2 headers, one for the first page of the document and one for all the subsequent pages. They have 2 footers, one for all pages up to the last page, and then a last page footer, so that you can put all your summary totals and things like that apply to the whole order on the footer of the last page. You can print picking slips for the warehouse so that they know what to ship to people. Send your customers invoices when the goods actually leave the warehouse, or an RMA form, or a credit note once the goods have been returned. So all of these forms are customizable. They can be printed in multiple parts. We have a very simple drag and drop designer, which I have shown in other presentations with K2. So you don't have to learn Crystal reports to customize any of these to your particular requirements. In accounts receivable, so the customer maintains, maintenance occurs in accounts receivable, but that includes information like the default salesperson and territory for the customer, what discount level they're entitled to, or what price list you want them to use, the customer's credit limit, their balance outstanding so that order entry can do credit checks. Email order, different email addresses for order confirmations and invoices, and statements, and just overall contact. So let's see, what else do I need to tell you here? And so when you are entering an order, you can check the credit limit, and you can check the credit limit both before and after the order has been entered into order entry, because the order itself may put someone over their credit limit. The credit limits can be overridden by someone with a different security level. This is settable on a company by company basis. So you can also say, you can also choose whether you will take an order for someone who's over their credit limit. So in some businesses, if someone's over their credit limit, you don't actually want to take the order, you want to refer them immediately to accounting. Me, I would always take the order, and then at the end of the whole process where you've confirmed that everything's in inventory that they want, you would say, oh yes, but before I can ship this, you have to settle your account with the accounting department. I'll just enter this order for you and ship it to you when accounting says that everything's being sorted out. So that's also an option that's settable on a company basis. And you can also choose whether in inventory you allow inventory levels to go negative. If you don't allow inventory to go negative, then you won't be allowed to enter, you won't be allowed to generate an invoice that would result in the shipment of goods that would go negative. And this is important. First of all, some businesses have to rely on inventory being allowed to go negative because they are receiving and shipping goods faster than they can process the paper. But in the majority of businesses, you don't want to ship something you don't have because the cost of that item is then unknown, often zero if it's just been added to inventory. But if it is an item in inventory and you don't appear to have any in stock because the shipping guy is a little behind in his work and he hasn't received all the goods that came in yesterday, but you have an order and you're shipping them out today, then Adagio will use the most recent cost when it's doing the appropriate accounting for the sale of those items. We talked a little bit about whether about the differences between B2C and B2B type of sales. I do have a survey question about that. For the clients who are selling, oops, I double clicked when I should have single clicked, and I can't send the poll out again. Fortunately, we have another one to check that you are here, and we'll still hit R4. I was kind of curious for those of you who have inventory, whether you're doing business to business or business to consumer, but we can deal with that later if we end up talking to you about this. So inventory going negative can be a big deal, or you can actually prevent it from happening. Let's see, there are things that are automated in order entry. You can ship orders automatically. So you can have orders that are in inventory, in order entry that you haven't shipped yet. And then you've done a whole set of receipt of goods into inventory. Your receipts have come in during the day. Now you want to choose which orders to ship. And Adagio Order Entry can help you by choosing orders to ship automatically. You can say when you're choosing it to ship only the whole order. So only ship the order if the entire order can be satisfied. Only ship a line on an order if the whole line can be satisfied. So only ship 5 bicycles if I have 5 bicycles in inventory, or just ship what's available. So if I have 3 bicycles in inventory and the order was for 5 bicycles, then it would ship the 3 bicycles that you have and leave 2 on back order. So, and you set the customer requirements. Some customers will say only ship a complete order, and other customers will say only ship full lines on an order, don't partially ship an order, because our shipping department can't deal with a partial receipt. You can email documents automatically. So when you invoice, or order confirmations can be automatically generated and emailed. And if you have docs stored, they'll be attached to the order. You can attach all the forms to the order. It may be manufacturing directions or special instructions. All these things can be annotated and noted on an order, and the documents, the supporting documents attached to the order. And then when the order is invoiced, the order documents will be attached to the invoice. And then when that goes over accounts receivable, the accounts receivable clerk can see all those documents. And when the cash is received and applied to that invoice, the check can be scanned, and then the invoice and the customer's purchase order can all be attached to the check. So the person who's working in the GL can see exactly what went on without having to go and look in the filing cabinet. You can build assemblies to satisfy an order. You can print picking slips in multiple formats. There's a company option for when you enter a quantity of an item. Do you want to automatically ship that quantity or back order that quantity? So do you want the quantity ordered to be copied to the quantity shipped or quantity back ordered? Because different businesses behave differently. Some businesses assume that if they took the order, they'll be able to ship the goods, and other businesses take the order and then decide what they're going to ship based on inventory availability or expected ship dates or manufacturing, all of those constraints about shipping. So that takes us through the order entry side. By the way, one of the things I forgot to mention about inventory, supporting all the different transaction types. Even though you would not enter shipments in inventory, typically you would enter the shipments in order entry and manage sales orders that way. That does allow you to import shipments into inventory or import receipts from some external system that you may be running. So perhaps your manufacturing system, which is completely separate and manages its own inventory, creates some finished goods, and you're using Adagio to manage the sale and shipment of the finished goods. You can import the receipts of the finished goods into Adagio from either a CSV or an Excel file. On the purchase order side, so that was the sales order side. Adagio purchase orders integrates with inventory and payables and order entry. So some of the things that you can do in Adagio purchase orders, you can auto-generate POs from inventory levels. So rather than having to go through and inspect reports or walk around, you can ask purchase orders to scan all of inventory for a particular location or for all locations, and for a particular vendor or for all vendors, and generate the necessary purchase orders to replenish inventory up to its minimum level. And you get a chance to review the purchase orders before they're actually created. So you can go through and say, we don't really want those anymore. We're trying to phase those out, so I'm not gonna order anymore. You can also go through order entry and raise a PO for any new items that are on sales order that you don't have items in inventory. So that means that if you're the type of wholesale distributor who takes the sales order and then asks the manufacturer or to ship directly to the client without actually coming into inventory, that's a very easy business model to set up in Adagio. You enter the sales order, you run the auto-generate PO with a drop ship address, and send that off to the manufacturer, and your work is done. You can have multiple vendors on a PO for landed costs. We support requisitions in those environments where you want someone to be able to requisition some goods or services. You can have your normal inventory, but also a separate inventory of sundry items and separate inventory of vendors for miscellaneous purchases. Those purchases, from staples where you don't actually want that stuff received into inventory. Other things that you can do. We talked about multiple vendors, requisitions. Oh, this is a duplicate slide. Oh, Contract pricing for delivery of services. So you want to buy $15,000 worth of media services and then receipt against that PO. We support that kind of model. A receipt by invoice or delivery note. So the guy on the shipping bay, the person receiving goods doesn't actually have to have the invoice in hand to get the goods into inventory. You can receive by delivery note, get your inventory items into inventory for sale, and then Adagio will do all the necessary accounting when the invoice comes in the circumstance where the invoice does not match the quoted PO price. You can combine POs on a single receipt. You can change the vendor at receiving time or at invoicing time. I think that this uses up all my time. We do have a module for prospecting and for quote management. I have one more survey just to make sure you're still here. Just to see whether anything that we showed today is remotely interesting. And we're more, of course, we do understand that no one wakes up on suddenly says, oh, I need new accounting. But the entry-level products like Sage 50 and QuickBooks are designed for managing the most simple of inventory and order processes. And if your business is growing at all, and you're being overwhelmed by Excel spreadsheets, just trying to keep track of what's on order and what's on coming in, and you're trying to track landed costs so that you really know what your selling price should be because you're ordering internationally. You can have multiple people on multiple vendors on a PO. They can all be in different currencies even, and we'll figure out what the cost to land the items in inventory, because inventory is always valued in your home currency. So I think that that's enough people there. I'll just show you that after this half-hour presentation on the kind of things that you can do with Adagio order entry, there are at least one or two people who think that this would make their job easier, and that's the object of the exercise. With that, I wrap up. Marilyn, you can take back control, and the con is yours.
Thank you, Andrew. Always great to hear from you. Alan, I'm going to give you the com, and just so everybody knows, we've added a survey question. When you get at the end, we close down the webinar, you'll be presented with a survey question. So Andrew, we did add in the B2B question there, so we'll get some responses through that mechanism.
Okay, thank you.
Over to you, Alan, for the wrap.
And thank you, and I'm glad to be back. So, Ward, I learned a couple of tricks, and Andrew, as usual, a delightful presentation. So before I close, I want to remind you that K2E Canada has a couple of webinars on PDFs that you could go to for additional training. And this slide and the link will be in the package that Marilyn sends you. A reminder that that package will go out in the next 10 days, and it will include your PDF certificate. There's no need to email Marilyn or myself to ask when it's coming. So on that note, thank you all for attending. It's a wrap.